Daddy, please don't let them take us. When 5-year-old twins Emma and Ethan vanish from their elite Manhattan private school, billionaire tech mogul Alexander Hartwell believes it's a brutal kidnapping for ransom. But as security footage unravels and clues surface, one woman, a humble housekeeper named Rosa, discovers a darker truth. The twins weren't taken by strangers. They were taken by someone inside the penthouse. Why? For money, for control, or something even worse. To uncover who betrayed the Hartwell family and how far they'll go to hide it, watch the full story. Before we continue, don't forget to subscribe to the channel, like this video, and tell us in the comments where you're watching from. At 2:47 a.m., the digital clock on the marble kitchen counter glowed red in the darkness of the Hartwell penthouse, casting long shadows across the polished Italian tile. 30 floors above Manhattan's Upper East Side, Isabelle Hartwell stood barefoot near the floor-to-ceiling windows, her silk robe rustling as she paced. She had been awake for 3 hours, waiting for this exact moment. She stepped onto the wraparound terrace, the cold November air biting her arms. The security cameras didn't cover the northwest corner, a flaw Alexander never noticed, but she had. Her fingers trembled slightly as she dialed a number she had memorized 5 days ago. A gruff voice answered almost immediately. "I'm here," Marcus Webb whispered from somewhere in the city below. "You got everything ready?" Isabelle bit her lower lip, a habit she'd had since childhood, whenever she felt cornered. "Yes." "Listen carefully," she whispered. $100,000 now. Another 200 when the job is done. The twins get out of Riverside Academy at 3 p.m. sharp. Rosa always picks them up in the black SUV. You'll have 12 minutes before Alexander's security detail arrives for the evening shift change. Marcus chuckled darkly across the line. "And you're sure your fiancée will pay?" Isabelle looked up toward the master bedroom, where Alexander slept without a clue. 3 years of engagement had taught her one thing. He would pay anything, absolutely anything, for Emma and Ethan. "He'll pay whatever you ask," she said with bitterness coating each word. "Those children are his only weakness." "How long do you want to keep them?" "No more than 72 hours. Just long enough to scare Alexander. Long enough to make him understand he can lose what he loves most." Marcus laughed across the line. "Consider it done. By Friday night, your little problem will be handled." Isabelle hung up and slipped back inside, placing the burner phone deep inside a decorative vase in the library where Rosa would never look. Everything needed to look perfect. At 6:30 a.m., the alarm buzzed softly through the penthouse sound system. Isabelle pretended to wake up naturally beside Alexander, who was already scrolling through emails on his tablet, reading reports from his cybersecurity firm's Tokyo office. "Good morning," she murmured, planting a soft kiss on his cheek, a performance she had perfected over 3 years. He barely glanced up. "Morning." The board meeting moved up to 9. "Rosa will need to take the twins to school again." "Of course," Isabelle replied sweetly. "I have that charity luncheon with the museum board." The Vanderbilt fundraiser. Elisha had practiced for 2 weeks. Downstairs in the service quarters, Rosa Martinez moved around the industrial kitchen with the precision of someone who had served the same breakfast for 8 years. Scrambled eggs with chives, whole wheat toast, fresh berries, orange juice for the twins, black coffee for Alexander, green tea for Isabelle. She heard Isabelle descending the spiral staircase and sensed something off in her rhythm. Faster, more nervous. "Good morning, Miss Hartwell," Rosa said gently, her slight Dominican accent coloring the words. "Morning," Isabelle muttered, tapping her manicured nails on the breakfast bar in a frantic rhythm. When her phone buzzed with a notification, she practically lunged for it. Rosa noticed instantly. In 8 years working in the Hartwell penthouse, she had developed an almost supernatural ability to read emotions, especially Isabelle's. The woman was always controlled, always calculated. This jittery energy was new. Alexander entered the dining room, adjusting his platinum cufflinks, gift from a Japanese investor worth $12,000 each. The twins followed, Emma's blonde pigtails slightly crooked, Ethan's private school, tie hanging loose around his collar. "Dad, can you help me with my science project tonight?" Emma asked, hopefully, her green eyes bright. We'll see, Alexander said without looking at her, burying himself behind the Financial Times. Dad, I made you a drawing, Ethan added softly, holding up a crayon picture of their family. That's nice, buddy. Leave it on my desk. Rosa's heart tightened as both children deflated. She crouched beside them, straightening Emma's pigtails and tying Ethan's shoes with practiced care. Don't worry, Ms. Amores. You'll figure out that project together. I'll help you tonight. But we want Dad to help, Emma whispered. Rosa squeezed her hand gently. I know, sweetie. I know. Isabelle, meanwhile, kept checking her phone every few seconds, her leg bouncing under the table. Alexander finally noticed. Everything okay? Yes, she lied quickly, just confirming the luncheon details. Rosa saw through the lie instantly. The way Isabelle's pupils dilated, the way her breathing quickened, the way her hand trembled around her teacup. Something was wrong. Alexander stood, kissing Isabelle's forehead absently. Rosa, he said as he gathered his briefcase. Don't forget the twins have their piano lesson rescheduled to Thursday, and Emma's allergist appointment next week. I have it noted, Mr. Hartwell, she replied softly. After breakfast, Isabelle cornered Rosa near the service elevator. You're taking the twins today, right? As always, Miss Hartwell. Good. Don't forget to pick them up exactly at 3 p.m. Not a minute late. Rosa frowned. Isabelle had never cared about school pickup times in 3 years. I'm always early, Miss Hartwell. I know. Just make sure today. It's important. The intensity in Isabelle's eyes sent a chill down Rosa's spine. At noon, Rosa buckled Emma and Ethan into the black Cadillac Escalade Alexander had purchased specifically for their transportation. Armored panels, bulletproof glass, GPS tracking. Nothing but the best for his children. Rosa, Ethan asked softly from the back seat as they drove toward Riverside Academy. Yes, mi amor. Why doesn't Isabelle ever hug us anymore? Rosa's throat tightened. For 3 years, she had watched Isabelle's affection toward the twins evaporate like morning fog. She's not mad at you, Rosa said gently. Adults have complicated worries. She hugged Dad when they got engaged, Emma whispered. She smiled at us at the party. But now she looks at us like we're in the way. Rosa took a slow breath, gripping the steering wheel. Your father loves you more than anything in this world. That's what matters. And you love us too, right? Ethan asked, his voice small and uncertain. Rosa's eyes misted. Of course I do. More than you know. As they arrived at Riverside Academy's pristine entrance with its ivy-covered brick walls and security checkpoint, Rosa spotted something that made her blood run cold. A man leaning against a gray cargo van across the street. Baseball cap pulled low. Dark sunglasses. Watching the school too intently, like a predator studying prey. When he noticed Rosa looking, he turned away abruptly and drove off fast, tires squealing slightly. Rosa's instinct screamed. She made a mental note of the license plate. New Jersey, partial number 7 kilometers, and filed it away. At 3:10 p.m., Rosa returned for pickup, her heart already racing with unexplained anxiety. Children streamed out of Riverside Academy into their parents' waiting arms. Nannies waved goodbye to teachers. The autumn air smelled of pencil shavings and possibility. But Emma and Ethan weren't there. Rosa's stomach dropped. She rushed to their teacher, Miss Patterson, who was organizing papers near the entrance. Where are Emma and Ethan Hartwell? The teacher smiled casually, completely unaware of the nightmare she was about to unleash. Their uncle picked them up 20 minutes ago. Rosa felt her blood turn to ice. Uncle, she whispered. Mr. Hartwell doesn't have brothers. Miss Patterson's smile vanished, her face draining of color. He said he was family. He showed identification. He said Mr. Hartwell sent him because of a last-minute business emergency. Rosa was already dialing Alexander, her hands shaking so violently she could barely hold the phone. Rosa, what happened? The twins are gone, she choked out. A man took them, someone claiming to be their uncle. Silence. A long, terrifying silence that felt like falling through ice. Someone kidnapped my children, Alexander whispered, his voice hollow with shock. Rosa's next call went to Isabelle. 2 rings. Voicemail. Second call. Voicemail. Third call. Finally answered. "What's wrong?" Isabelle asked, her tone too calm, too measured. "Emma and Ethan have been kidnapped," Rosa cried, her voice breaking. A pause. A long, calculated pause. "What do you mean someone took them?" Isabelle said slowly, each word carefully placed. Rosa felt a chill deeper than fear. Isabelle wasn't shocked. She was performing. "I'll head home immediately," Isabelle said with rehearsed urgency. "Call Alexander. Call the police." The line went dead. Rosa stood frozen on the sidewalk as parents and children flowed around her like water around a stone. She knew, deep in her bones, something was terribly, terribly wrong. They all gathered at the penthouse within the hour. Alexander, frantic, pacing the living room like a caged animal. Isabelle, overly dramatic with her tears, mascara running in perfect streams down her cheeks. Rosa, standing near the window, watching, observing, every instinct on fire. Then the penthouse phone rang. Alexander answered on speaker, his hand trembling. Alexander Hartwell. A digitally distorted voice echoed through the room, cold and mechanical. "I have something that belongs to you." Rosa froze, her breath catching. "Who is this?" Alexander demanded, his voice cracking. "Where are my children?" "Emma and Ethan are alive," the voice replied calmly. "For now." Isabelle gasped theatrically, clutching Alexander's arm. Rosa watched her closely. "If you want them back," the voice continued, "you'll pay $5 million in cash. Unmarked bills. Non-sequential. You have 48 hours. Alexander's face drained of all color. $5 million? Fine. I'll get it. I'll get whatever you want. But I need to know they're okay. Let me speak to them. Please." The line went dead. Alexander staggered backward, collapsing onto the leather sofa as though the air had been ripped from his lungs. Isabelle immediately threw herself beside him, burying her face dramatically in his chest. "My babies," she sobbed. "Oh God, Alexander. What are we going to do?" But Rosa saw it. The moment Isabelle's eyes flicked toward her phone, checking for something, a message, a confirmation. The way her tears stopped for just a split second when Alexander wasn't looking. The slight tremble in her hands, that wasn't fear, it was adrenaline. Rosa's stomach twisted into knots. Something is wrong. Something is very, very wrong. If you're enjoying this story so far, don't forget to hit the like button and subscribe. Drop a comment telling me where in the world you're watching from. I love hearing from you. That night, Rosa couldn't sleep. The penthouse was silent, but the weight of everything pressed on her chest like a brick. Every detail from that day replayed in her mind on an endless loop. The gray van. The man watching the school. Isabelle's fake panic. The way she kept checking her phone like she was waiting for confirmation of something she already knew. And the worst part, the teacher said uncle. Emma and Ethan didn't have extended family on Alexander's side. His parents were deceased, no siblings. Isabelle's family lived in Europe and had never once visited in 3 years. Someone had fed the kidnappers that story. At 2:30 a.m., Rosa heard footsteps upstairs. Soft, deliberate, moving through the penthouse. Curious and uneasy, she slipped out of her small room off the kitchen and crept up the service stairs. A soft glow seeped under the door of Alexander's home office. She pressed her ear against the heavy wood. "Gallagher, listen." Edward's voice cracked with exhaustion. "I need everything liquidated by Friday morning. Stocks, bonds, the Miami property if we have to. Whatever it takes." Rosa heard paper shuffling. No, I can't explain the specifics. It's a family emergency, and I know the penalties." "Damn it, if this were your children, wouldn't you do the same?" The raw desperation in his voice made Rosa's chest tighten. For the first time in 8 years, the man who had mostly treated her like furniture sounded completely human. Broken, terrified, Rosa retreated silently to the kitchen, made a pot of coffee, and brought a cup to his office door. She knocked softly. "Come in." Alexander looked up, eyes bloodshot and exhausted, tie loosened, shirt wrinkled. "I thought you might need this," Rosa said gently. He nodded with gratitude that surprised her. "Thank you, Rosa." Really? She stood awkwardly, holding the empty tray. Mr. Hartwell, is there anything else I can do? He hesitated, rubbing his forehead with both hands. Rosa, in all your time working here, have you ever noticed anything strange? Anything about this household? About us? The question caught her completely off guard. I'm not sure what you mean, sir. Edward shook his head slowly. Never mind. The stress is making me imagine things. She turned to leave, but paused at the door. Mr. Hartwell, she said softly. Emma and Ethan are strong children. We'll find them. I know it. For the first time ever, Alexander looked at her like she was more than staff, like she was a fellow human being sharing his nightmare. Thank you, Rosa. You really care about them, don't you? She nodded, throat tight. More than you know, sir. Wednesday morning arrived with leaden gray skies. The second day of the kidnapping. Alexander left early with his attorney to begin the frantic race for $5 million in cash. Isabelle stayed in the master bedroom unusually late. Migraine, she claimed, though Rosa suspected she was waiting for messages. When Isabelle finally came downstairs at 11 a.m., she looked immaculate. Hairstyled, makeup perfect, designer athleisure wear. Not like a woman whose stepchildren had been kidnapped 30 hours ago. Rosa, she said with unnerving calm, I need you to prepare the twins' rooms. Change the sheets. Dust everything. Vacuum thoroughly. I want it absolutely perfect for when they return. Rosa blinked in confusion. But Miss Hartwell, I cleaned their rooms 2 days ago. They're already spotless. I want them perfect, Isabelle snapped, her mask slipping for just a moment. Just do it. Rosa climbed the stairs to the twins' adjoining bedrooms, confusion twisting inside her like a knife. She opened Emma's door first. The room looked exactly as the little girl had left it Tuesday morning. Stuffed animals arranged on the window seat. Homework scattered across her small desk. A drawing of their family taped to the mirror. Alexander, the twins, and Rosa, but notably, Isabelle was absent from the picture. Rosa sat on the edge of Emma's bed, her eyes landing on a framed photo on the nightstand. Last Christmas, Alexander held both twins tightly, smiling genuinely, a rare sight. Isabelle stood beside them, also smiling. But Rosa noticed something she had never seen before. Isabelle wasn't touching the children at all, not even a casual hand on their shoulders. There was physical distance, emotional coldness, captured forever in that frozen moment. Rosa's skin prickled with unease. A dangerous thought came to her, one that made her hand shake. She went to Isabelle's private dressing room and did the unthinkable. She searched it. Her heart pounded violently as she checked drawers, closets, the vanity. Everything was perfectly arranged, almost like a showroom. Expensive clothes organized by color. Jewelry in velvet-lined boxes. Perfume bottles lined up like soldiers. But then she opened the bathroom wastebasket. Among crumpled tissues and makeup wipes was a small piece of paper, folded and slightly damp. Rosa unfolded it with trembling fingers. $100,000 up front. $200,000 after. 555-0847 M. Webb. Pier 47 Warehouse. The handwriting was elegant, feminine, unmistakably Isabelle's. Rosa felt her heart nearly stop. She photographed the note with her old phone, hands shaking so badly she almost dropped it, then placed the paper back exactly as she found it. She felt like she was holding a live grenade. At 2 p.m., Isabelle announced she was stepping out to the terrace for fresh air. Rosa quietly followed, slipping around the outdoor furniture to position herself beneath the living room window, hidden behind the large planters. Isabelle's voice drifted out, sharp and agitated. You can't change the price now, Marcus. We agreed on everything. Rosa's blood froze. Isabelle knew the kidnapper's name. She hit record on her phone, hands shaking. What do you mean they're being difficult? Isabelle hissed into her phone. They're 5 years old. What trouble can they possibly crack? Rosa stepped on a fallen branch. Instant silence. Who's out there? Isabelle shouted, her voice sharp as broken glass. Rosa ducked behind the large stone planter, barely breathing, pressing herself flat against the cold marble as Isabelle stepped outside, scanning the terrace like a predator. Minutes passed. Each second felt like an hour. Finally, Isabelle went back inside, but not before Rosa heard her mutter, "I'm being paranoid. The stress is getting to me." Rosa stayed hidden another 10 minutes, her legs cramping, her heart hammering so loud she was certain it would give her away. She had confirmation now. Isabelle had planned everything. And worse, Emma and Ethan were in danger. At 4:30 p.m., Alexander returned with a duffel bag containing $5 million in cash. He looked gray, exhausted, 10 years older than he had been 2 days ago. Isabelle ran to him, sobbing theatrically. "Thank God. Now we just have to wait for them to call back." Rosa stood in the doorway of the kitchen, watching every movement, every gesture, cataloging everything. At 5:15 p.m., they called again. Alexander Hartwell. The distorted voice was colder this time, angrier. "We have a problem." Alexander's face drained of all remaining color. "What problem?" "I have your money. I have everything you asked for. The twins won't stop crying. They tried to escape last night. My associates don't like complications." Rosa watched Isabelle's face carefully. For the first time, genuine fear flickered in her eyes. This wasn't part of her plan. "The price just went up," the voice announced. "What?" Alexander whispered, his voice breaking. 10 million. You have until Friday noon." I don't have another 5 million, Alexander said, voice cracking with desperation. "I sold everything. I liquidated my entire portfolio. Please, I'm begging you. That's not my problem," the voice snapped. 10 million or you never see them again." The line went dead. Alexander collapsed onto the couch, head in his hands, shoulders shaking. Isabelle comforted him, but Rosa saw the terror behind Isabelle's eyes now. The plan had spiraled completely out of her control, and Rosa realized something chilling. If she didn't act soon, Emma and Ethan wouldn't survive this. Rosa waited until Alexander retreated to his office, making increasingly desperate phone calls. Banks, private lenders, former business partners. His voice cracked each time he said the twins' names. Isabelle stayed close to him like a shadow, hovering, interrupting, stepping between Rosa and Alexander anytime she tried to speak to him. It was obvious now. Isabelle knew Rosa had noticed something, and that made Rosa a threat. She had to be extremely careful. At 10 p.m., Rosa finally approached Alexander in the hallway outside his office. "Mr. Hartwell, please listen to me. I've discovered something important. It's about Miss Hartwell and—" But Isabelle appeared instantly, as if she had been listening around the corner. "Rosa," she snapped sharply, "can you prepare the guest suite? My sister is flying in tonight from Paris to support us." "But sir, I really need to—" Rosa started desperately. "Now, Rosa," Isabelle ordered, stepping closer, her eyes razor-sharp behind the mask of grief. Alexander barely looked up from his phone. "Rosa, please. Not now. I can't handle anything else." The office door closed between them with a soft, terrible finality. Rosa stood frozen in the hallway, blood running cold. Vanessa had just cut off her only chance to warn Alexander. Rosa knew she couldn't wait any longer. She returned to her room, grabbed her phone, and called her daughter Carmen, who worked as a paralegal in the city. "Mommy, what's wrong? It's almost midnight." "Carmen, I need your help. The twins have been kidnapped, and I think Isabelle planned it. I have evidence, but Mr. Hartwell won't listen to me." Carmen went quiet for a moment. "Mommy, if you have proof, you need to go to the police. Tonight. But what if I'm wrong? What if—" "You're never wrong about people, Mommy. You have the best instincts of anyone I know. Trust yourself." Rosa closed her eyes, thinking of Emma's bright smile, Ethan's gentle hugs, the way they both called her their angel. "You're right. I'm going to the police. I'll meet you at the precinct. 20 minutes. Rosa grabbed the photo of Isabelle's note, the recording of her conversation, and slipped out of the penthouse through the service entrance at 12:30 a.m. The precinct was buzzing even at this late hour. Sergeant David Chun listened to Rosa's story with increasing concern, reviewing the photo and the audio recording multiple times. "This is serious," he said finally. "But I need to be honest with you, Mrs. Martinez. This isn't enough for a warrant. The note could be for anything. The recording is partial. We need more. Rosa felt her world collapsing. But the children, I believe you. Sergeant Chin interrupted gently. But legally my hands are tied. However, he paused, choosing his words carefully. If you could get us a location, proof of where the children are being held, we could act immediately. Rosa understood what he wasn't saying directly. She had to find Emma and Ethan herself. Rosa returned to the penthouse at 2 a.m., her mind racing. She went straight to her room and pulled up the photo of Isabelle's note again, studying every detail. Pier 47 warehouse. She knew that area. Abandoned industrial docks on the west side, where Alexander's company had once considered building a data center before abandoning the project. At 2:45 a.m., Rosa heard Isabelle's bedroom door open. She crept to her own doorway and watched through the crack. Isabelle, dressed in black jeans and a dark jacket, slipped down the hallway and out through the service entrance. Rosa's heart hammered. This was it. She waited exactly 60 seconds, then followed. Isabelle drove a small white sedan, not her usual luxury vehicle, through the empty Manhattan streets toward the west side. Rosa followed at a safe distance in her old Toyota, her hands gripping the wheel so tightly her knuckles ached. Finally, Isabelle turned into a desolate industrial area near Pier 47. Abandoned warehouses loomed like sleeping giants. Broken windows, graffiti-covered walls, the smell of river water and rust. Isabelle parked near a building with a partially collapsed roof. Rosa parked 2 blocks away and approached on foot, every shadow making her jump. She found a broken window covered with plywood. Carefully, she pried back one corner and peered inside. Her heart shattered. Emma and Ethan were tied to plastic chairs in the center of the warehouse, blindfolded, small bodies trembling with fear. They still wore their school uniforms from Tuesday, now dirty and wrinkled. Isabelle stood facing a man with a mustache and cold eyes, Marcus Webb. Rosa hit record, her phone hidden behind a concrete pillar. "Marcus, this is completely out of control," Isabelle hissed. "It was already out of control the moment you involved me," Marcus snapped. "The kids cried all night. They tried to escape twice. My people are done babysitting. Stick to the plan. 5 million and release them. The price is 10 million now." "What?" "Marcus, we agreed. That was before your fiancé started alerting every bank and lender in the city. He's drawing attention. I need more money to disappear completely. I can't get 10 million. Alexander has nothing left." Marcus stepped closer, his voice dropping to something darker. "Sounds like a you problem, Isabelle." Isabelle's breath quickened. "After the money, what happens to them?" Marcus laughed softly, cruelly. "What do you think?" Rosa pressed her hand over her mouth to stop herself from screaming. "No," Isabelle whispered, genuine fear finally breaking through. "We never planned to hurt them. You wanted to scare your billionaire fiancé. I want to stay alive and free. The kids know our faces. They're liabilities. Marcus, you can't kill them. Watch me." Rosa felt adrenaline surge through her veins like fire. She had everything on video, the confession, the threat, the location. She ran back to her car, hands shaking so violently she could barely start the engine. She had to get to Alexander before Isabelle returned and poisoned him with more lies. At 3:45 a.m., Rosa reached the penthouse and rang the private elevator repeatedly until Alexander's groggy voice came through the intercom. "Rosa? What? Let me up. Now. Please." Something in her voice made him comply immediately. When the elevator doors opened, Alexander stood there in pajamas and a robe, looking confused and alarmed. "Rosa, what's happening?" "I have proof," she blurted desperately. "Video proof. Emma and Ethan are alive. Isabelle orchestrated everything. I saw her at the warehouse tonight. I recorded everything." Alexander froze, his face cycling through disbelief, confusion, and dawning horror. Rosa pulled out her phone and played the warehouse video. The image was grainy but clear enough. Emma and Ethan tied up, Isabelle arguing with Marcus. The threat against the children's lives. That's her," Alexander whispered, his voice hollow. "And those are my children." He sank into a chair, trembling. "Oh God, Rosa, what have I done?" "I believed her. I sent you away when you tried to warn me. Sir, we don't have time, Rosa urged. They're planning to kill the twins tonight. We have to go now. Alexander stood sharply, his face transforming from broken to determined. Where? Pier 47, the abandoned warehouse district. Your company almost built there 3 years ago. Recognition flashed in his eyes. I know exactly where that is. He grabbed his keys, then paused. We need to call the police. Rosa handed him Sergeant Chen's card. Already did. They're waiting for our call with a location. Alexander dialed as they rushed to his car. This is Alexander Hartwell. My children are being held at Pier 47, Warehouse Complex, Building 7. The kidnapper's name is Marcus Webb. My fiancée, Isabelle Hartwell, orchestrated everything. We have video evidence, and we're heading there now. Mr. Hartwell, do not engage. Wait for... Alexander hung up. I'm not waiting while my children are in danger. They drove through the pre-dawn darkness, racing against time. They arrived at Pier 47 as the first hints of gray light touched the horizon. Police sirens wailed in the distance, but Alexander couldn't wait. He and Rosa moved like shadows through the industrial zone until they reached Building 7. Through a gap in the boarded windows, they could see Emma and Ethan, still tied up, still blindfolded. Marcus was pacing, talking on his phone, agitated. Isabelle was gone. Probably fled when she heard sirens approaching. Alexander found a side door, rusted and weak. He kicked it hard. Once. Twice. On the third kick, the lock shattered. They burst inside. Marcus spun around, reaching for something in his jacket. Don't move, Alexander shouted. But Rosa was already running toward the twins. Emma. Ethan. It's Rosa. I'm here. The children began sobbing behind their blindfolds. Marcus pulled out a gun. Back away from them, old woman. Rosa froze, positioning herself between Marcus and the children. You'll have to shoot me first. Alexander charged forward, tackling Marcus before he could aim properly. The gun fired into the ceiling, the sound deafening in the enclosed space. They crashed to the concrete floor, both men struggling violently. Rosa grabbed a metal pipe from the debris and brought it down hard on Marcus's wrist. He screamed, dropping the gun. Alexander pinned him down just as police flooded through every entrance, red and blue lights painting the warehouse walls. FBI. Nobody move. Officers swarmed Marcus, handcuffing him as he cursed and struggled. Rosa ran to the twins, carefully removing their blindfolds and untying the ropes with trembling fingers. Rosa, Emma whispered, squinting in the sudden light. Yes, mi amor. I'm here. You're safe now. Both children threw themselves into her arms, sobbing uncontrollably. Alexander dropped to his knees beside them, pulling all three into a tight embrace. I'm so sorry, he whispered, tears streaming down his face. I'm so sorry. I should have protected you. I should have seen... Daddy, Ethan whispered. You came. You found us. Rosa found you, Alexander said, looking at her with overwhelming gratitude. She saved you. She saved all of us. Isabelle was arrested at JFK Airport 3 hours later, trying to board a flight to Zurich using a fake passport. Marcus Webb confessed to everything, offering testimony against Isabelle in exchange for a reduced sentence. The full story emerged over the following weeks. Isabelle had discovered that Alexander planned to create a trust fund for the twins, $750 million, accessible when they turned 21. She also learned that if anything happened to the children, their inheritance would default to Alexander's estate, and as his wife, she would have had control. Her plan, stage a kidnapping, let it escalate accidentally to murder, appear as the grieving stepmother, eventually marry Alexander, and inherit everything. But she hadn't counted on Rosa's instincts, courage, and unwavering love for 2 children who weren't even hers by blood. 6 months later, Alexander restructured his entire life. He cut his work schedule to 30 hours per week, working from home 3 days a week. He attended every school event, every piano lesson, every soccer game. And he asked Rosa to become not just the twins' nanny, but their legal guardian alongside him, officially part of their family. I don't deserve this, Rosa said through tears when he offered her the papers. You deserve everything, Alexander replied. You gave me back my children. You gave me back my life. You showed me what real love looks like. Not wealth, not status, but sacrifice and courage. One Sunday afternoon, Rosa sat in Central Park watching Alexander play with Emma and Ethan on the grass. They were laughing, completely carefree for the first time in months. Emma ran over and climbed into Rosa's lap. Rosa, are you our mom now? Rosa's eyes filled with tears. I'm whatever you need me to be, mi amor. Can we call you Mama Rosa? Rosa looked at Alexander, who nodded with tears in his own eyes. Yes, sweetheart. You can call me Mama Rosa. Ethan joined them, wrapping his small arms around her neck. Mama Rosa saved us, he said simply. She's a hero. Alexander knelt beside them, creating a circle of love and healing. Yes, she is, he whispered. She's our hero. Rosa looked at her family, broken by betrayal, forged by fire, but ultimately saved by love that chose to show up, to fight, to never give up. True wealth, she realized, wasn't measured in penthouses or bank accounts. It was measured in moments like this. In children who felt safe enough to laugh again. In a father who finally learned what mattered most. And in a humble woman who proved that the greatest power in the world isn't money or status. It's love that refuses to abandon, even when everything is at stake. Thank you so much for watching until the end. If you love this story, check out the other videos on your screen now. I think you'll really enjoy them. And don't forget to subscribe if you haven't already. See you in the next story.